Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is the 18th day of May. It's 2025 on the ancient moon calendar, 2026 on the ancient sun calendar. It is 5785 on the ancient Hebrew Israelite calendar. It's 10,066 on the ancient Yoruba calendar. And it's millions and millions and trillions of years since time immemorial on the ancient Moorish calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity and in alignment and according to the ancient Noahide laws as stated by this Holy Congress. This is a sovereign living ancient Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court action. We are the divine sovereign living justices and Ego Sum Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminuto nolo in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capit et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal one and only natural living head and body for our empire. All Moors are the divine, original, indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Shemites, Israelites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Moroccan Empire. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earthwide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. We are the law by our sovereign status, which is the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3 Living United States District for Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, divine ministers, possessors, grantors, and grantors, and the title trustors for all causes for action. And our system is the trustee. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign divine ascension. We do possess in our custody all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. And we are all eternal, ancient, original sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc, Islam. So we're going to go ahead and take a moment to share our screen so that we can see and speak and legislate and senate Islam. Has anyone heard of Project Sandman regarding the gold standard? Project Sandman regarding the gold standard. And we'll go ahead and take the meeting, put the meeting in speaking mode so that we can all Islam.
Justice and Bay, Islam. I've heard of it.
Yes, Islam. Project Sandman is about the gold standard and the nations waking up and enforcing the gold standard. Now, let me state that Project or Operation Sandman, you can call it Operation Sandman or Project Sandman. We put this in place before we went to sleep. And what we stated right before we went to sleep, we said, okay, we're going to put this process in place, and when we start saying certain things, when we start to wake up, when the mass of us start saying the same thing, then we will know that we have activated Project Sandman. And, you know, the Sandman was the was the character that when we were little, our parents would say that the Sandman would come and sprinkle sand in your eyes and make you go to sleep. And when you wake up, you would have sand in your eyes, and you would have to clean the sand out of your eyes. That is Project Sandman is as, once we wake up, which we've already done, and we start saying certain things, and we all start saying the same thing without connecting with each other just yet, then we will know where we are on the timeline and what everyone is doing. So in 2018, this Congress made an official announcement that we are on the gold standard. Now, we've always been on the gold standard. It never went away. It's just that it was the will of our ancestors through us for us to make that pronouncement, so that actors will stop acting like the gold standard is not real, and so that the debt and the fraud and the fiat will stop flying around. So that's what Project Sandman was about. So once we made that official announcement, financially we made the announcement as well, because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to activate it. And by activating it, there are several steps that this Congress took and that our nation took to activate Project Sandman or Operation Sandman, which is a waking up process. What we did in 2018 and 2019, we announced the gold standard, and then we put a $666 trillion gold instrument on the public record. And you all can go back and look at that. We have lots of proof of that. The pronouncement and the announcement was made earthwide. So the Moors at all the other consulates made the same announcement at different times as they were waking up and coming on board. Japan, Thailand, China, Indonesia, the other Africa, and of course here. So we all made the announcement that, hey, everyone at Earth, we're announcing that everyone, the gold standard is active. Now, in 2018 and 2019, once we put the financial instruments, the gold instruments, on the public record, and we prefaced that with a lien on the U.S. Corporation Company, which is an acting company that we hired before we went to sleep, and we said we're gonna enact going to sleep, and while we're enacting sleep, this company is going to act like they're running things. Acting president, acting vice president, acting governors, acting military, acting police, acting sheriffs, acting judges, acting courts, and they did it all in black ink and capital letters. It's called capital. So they did all of that. They did what we told them to do. Pretend to be the Moors. Pretend to be the government. Pretend to be the banks. Pretend to be the courts. Pretend to be police, and all of that. So in 2018, we said, okay, we're here. You can start reining in all of that acting. So we said that in 2018. It's recorded everywhere, earthwide, on the record. Moors notified actors acting as counties, and actors acting as courts, and actors acting as police. All were notified. We used the same letterhead everywhere at all territories earthwide, and we let them know that, okay, start reining it in. The earth is huge. So it's not a one-day thing, it's a process. But then they said, okay, we got to move quicker because the Moors are awake. This is what the actors said. They said, we got to move quicker. We're going to have to shut everything down because the Moors are awake. They've already leaned, and they're going to be cutting off our quote unquote money, the enactment of money. They're going to be cutting that off. So we have to move very quickly. Let's go ahead and call it a virus and shut everything that we can shut down. Anything that's not essential, we're going to shut it down. Okay? And that happened. It started in September of 2019 is when that thing actually was. They were first starting to say, okay, we're gonna have to let them know something is coming. Let them being the subjects. Let the subjects know something is coming. We knew that everything was going to have to, because our Prophet Noble Drew Ali stated everything must grind to a halt. And when grinding to a halt means it's a process. It means it takes time because this is a huge estate and it's ever growing every day. And so we just continued while all of that enacting was going on, we continued governing and placing things on the public record, making and creating laws. We continued doing all that we do. And we saw as we were doing these things that all of the subjects and the actors were getting in alignment with what we stated. We know it's a process. And then the Moors, it's a process for us to wake up and start governing. So what we did was, and this is all on the public record. It's all recorded. Everything that we did is recorded. And so we began demonstrating and stating and being ourselves on our own land in many ways. Particularly for us, it was a financial, because that's a huge part of the estate, is the financial piece. So we crafted and created and coined our own money. That's what a coin really is. When the definition of the word coin, it means to create or to make. So when you coin a term, that means that you originated that term and you get to say what that term means. So when the Constitution says gold and silver coin, that means coin that gold and silver however you will, make it the law, and then use it. And that's what we've been doing for years now, is using our own money among ourselves and notifying everyone that this is the gold and silver, because we're the gold and silver. So Project Sandman, that's just a brief introduction of how that has manifested. And what we're doing has, I would say, reverberated, but there's a better word, I'm sure. It has awakened all nations to know that we're all on the same track. We're all doing the same thing. The one great mind is working through all of us, through each and every one of us. The Moors over at the other Africa and Thailand and Asia, and they all know about Dolarium. They all know that we're using it in our commercial ventures. Many of the natural resources that we govern, such as salt water, the sea salt and the salt minerals. Here at this territory particularly, we actually go out and harvest from the ocean the salt minerals, and then we tribute them to the people by way of the trust, based on the foundation that we put in place. And it has been going absolutely beautifully. The demand is major for the things that the ancestors have given us. We have so many other natural resources that we are harvesting now. And I will say this, that at every territory, there's not a single territory that does not have a multiplicity of natural resources. And it all starts, let me tell you, international trade starts with each and every one of us doing something with our own two hands, Put the documentation on the public record that states your authority and power to do what you're doing, and then do it. And then we just share that with each other. Many of the Moors that this Congress are sharing products and natural resources and, the work of our hands. So international and national and domestic trade. And for us, all of our trade is domestic, whether we're talking about trading with the Moors at China, Thailand, Indonesia, wherever we send our products is domestic for us. So we use domestic mailings, and the Moors have received the products and the mailings that we send out. So I said all of that to state that Project Sandman was in place. All it took was for us to say the passwords. The password is the gold standard. The passwords were, we have our own money. That we're not trying to do something created by subjects, foreigners, frauds, or anything. We're not trying to use their stuff to create, to be the foundation for what we're doing. We have our own everything. We were listening to one of the semi-sleeping, she's waking up, and we won't state her appellation, but on YouTube earlier today, and she was talking about gold and silver, and she was also talking about the subjects have enacted some notes that they say contain 1/1000th of a flake of an ounce of gold that's been put onto the enacted note, which we know that if it's not created by us, it's not real. And some still are not awake to that fact. But the truth of the matter is that if the subjects could have done a gold standard without us, they would have. But they did not and could not even talk about it until we woke up and did what we did. Because Bretton Woods was 1971 in the enactment. But they can't remove the gold standard, nor can they implement a gold standard. That's completely up to us, and we're the ones who had to wake up and make that statement and make that proclamation and make it the law as well. Islam. So Islam.
I wanted to interject here because I'm wondering, what does that mean to them? July 1, 2025, Basel III. Now gold is Tier 1 standard. What does that mean to them, Islam?
To them, it means that we are awake and we have done whatever it is that is necessary for them to now go around and enact, using gold and silver to do things. All they're doing is announcing what we've already done. So for them, it just means, and again, what it means to them is up to us, Empress Cynthia. We're the ones who get to say, okay, you all can use your gold and silver to buy the things that we have available. We can say that if we will to say that. Because they can't use it otherwise. They can't use it for commerce otherwise.
Islam. So does that mean that
you were a little bit distorted, Empress, the sound was a little bit distorted. You were not distorted. The sound was a little bit distorted. Can you repeat that, Empress?
Islam. At that point, what does that mean for their federal note? I can't imagine the two being able to exist at the same time.
No, it doesn't. They're doing exactly what we commanded on the public record, that the Federal Reserve note, the quote unquote, the U.S. Federal Reserve debt note is not money and cannot be used. So what they're doing is getting away from that. And they also know that it's not that the Federal Reserve note is not legal tender for the things that we have. They know that. They've always known that. But see, the Moors had to get right first. We had to get into our proper place and standing, and then govern. You know. So they were just mimicking what we are doing. That's all they're doing, is mimicking what we're doing. That's what they were doing, because they're actors. So our job, this is something that the ancestors pronounced even this morning as a suggested mandate, because even our ancestors give us the choice through us, because they're within us, to stay focused on what we're doing. We don't have to worry about the subjects. They already know what to do, and we need not be confused by anything that they're doing. If it didn't come from us, we don't have to honor or recognize it, okay? And then if we choose to recognize it, we can. But we must know when we recognize it that it's still just acting until we say otherwise. So, for example, I'll use the Treasury check, the United States Treasury check that we did, that we showed in Congress 2 Congresses ago, I believe. To some people, that's real to them. To us, we already know that it's an enacted, it's a draft. A draft is something that, if it's not approved by a real author or a real writer, then it's not real. It's just a draft. So fiat is that way as well. And we don't approve of fiat. We don't approve of it. So now everything and everyone is waking up out of the acting and saying, okay, this is real. The Moors said real gold, real silver, real Moorish sovereign delarium, gold receipt, because there has to be a receipt for the gold somewhere. There has to be, and we're the only ones who can issue that. So if you spend a lot of time, and this is for all of us, if we spend a whole lot of time looking at what the subjects are doing instead of minding our commerce, then sometimes there may be a temptation to think that what they're doing is real when it's really not. Even when they're saying, 48 states have said that gold and silver is legal tender. Well, when was it not legal tender? When was it not? Only when the Moors said we're going to use fiat. But even then, gold and silver were still legal tender then. It was lawful and legal. That has never changed. See, they keep, that funny mirror wants to make you forget that what we stated has always been. It's not new. So let's keep the reality real. The reality is the things that we have all stated and put on the public record. That's always been. It never has not been that. We've always been the government. We've always been the law. We've always been the wealthiest people in heaven and at earth. That's reality. We are on our own land. That's real. We're the law, and there's none beside us. That's real. We are the gods at earth that is real, and in heaven. That's real. So, Islam, Empress.
Are you able to put the link that is right below that into the chat?
Sure.
Islam.
It's just some search results talking about Project Sandman, and the reason that we took brought that link forward is because there's so many other little distractions about Project Sandman and the gold standard. There's other little things, a movie, a Marvel comic, this and that, some other project, something that has something to do with something unrelated, seemingly. So we just took that so that you could see the results that we get when we Google, because our results can sometimes be a lot different than the results that other people get based on where we are on the timeline. And speaking of that, very quickly before we move to our main topic, there are videos that have been coming up in our timeline, and we see people, Moors, whether they're asleep or awake, we see them presenting information that is the same information that we saw 6 years ago or 7 years ago. They're in that place now where we were 6 or 7 years ago, which told me that as we continue doing what we're doing, everyone is coming. Everyone is coming because they're all coming to the same information that we've put out there, all coming to the same information and usually in the same way. They're coming to that information by learning it from the funny mirror side first. And then nationality comes up a few years later for them. For us, nationality came first, and then we started learning all of this other stuff. So the ancestors chose to do ours a little bit different from others. We weren't thinking about USC codes and the Constitution, and we weren't thinking about any of that in our sleep. And then we learned about nationality, then all of that stuff came because the ancestors had a specific perspective for each one of us, actually. Islam nobility.
I want to say you're exactly right, because over the 5 or 6 years since I declared our nationality, most of my people will say that the money is not real. What you're talking about, the DeLorean, and all the things that's happened. You just mentioned that that are happening. Like they're coming on late, and between my uncles, they're not the same now. One of them always asks me, "Well, how you gonna get this to work in the bank?" and back and forth. So it's coming alive to them now, because they seeing what you say, and they coming along. It's time.
Justice Dumois, I'm so grateful for what you said, because just this past week, I was talking to someone that I've known for probably 15 years. And when I first, 7 years ago, when I first woke up to who I am, and I went through the change, because, we go through the change of renewing and transforming our minds to the reality and the truth instead of that fake, false stuff, narrative. And just this past week, when I spoke to that particular individual, they affirmed that everything that we've been studying and everything that we've been stating about the financial system and the things that we put in place, and they were like, now they were saying, you're so smart and things of that nature. And I was thinking to myself, the ancestors told us all of this stuff. This came through the spirit, and it manifested in the natural because they're aware of the July 1st date as well. And even the subjects in the office of banks have sent out, the banking system, let me put it that way, has sent out memos to everyone regarding with that specific date at the top of the page about the changes that are being made. So all we had to do was keep doing what we're doing, nobility. And now I don't sound crazy to them. and for that, I'm grateful, that we don't sound like, they see that, no, we're not crazy. This is real, actually.
Yes, it's a big favor.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. And another thing that I noticed too about out there on like the YouTubers and the quote unquote content creators, I don't know why they call them content creators. Well, I can't say I don't know why, because I do. Let me just say this about that really quickly before we go forward as well. The word is content creators. Content creators. In other words, many of those voices that we heard back when we were asleep were designed to make us feel content with wherever we were. That's why they call them content creators.
Okay.
They're supposed to create a feeling of contentment while you try and struggle to build a tiny home. You're supposed to try and feel content with poverty. Just because everybody else is going through it, they are doing layoffs, they're doing firing. You're supposed to be content with that instead of actually getting up and being yourself and ruling and governing over everything. That's why they're called content creators. But they say content creators, but the word is content. They're trying to make everyone feel as comfortable as possible while this change is going on. And we're grateful for that. That people are not out running around in the street tearing up stuff while this change is taking place.
Gotcha.
Islam. So we're just so grateful that our ancestors are faithful to their word, and that's for all of us. We're just grateful that our ancestors would never, ever, ever leave us hanging out there in the middle of nowhere, looking crazy. They would never do that, ever, for any reason, for anything. All we had to do was continue standing. And in order to get different results and better results, you got to do something different and something better than what the masses were doing. Yes, we're supposed to create our own money. We were supposed to do that. We were supposed to come together and unify and do that. And we did it. So here we have been staying focused on building our vast estate. Again, we don't have to keep looking at the subjects wondering what they're going to do. They already know what to do. They're not even our issue. They're not an issue. As long as we're continuing to be ourselves, which we will always be, we will never have issues with subjects. So we don't have to keep looking at them going, what are they going to do? We're doing this. What are they doing? Don't worry about them. They got it. They know what to do. They know how to subject. They know how to do that. So we've been talking about accessing resources without compromise. So let's continue on that topic, because this is going to be so important as we move forward, because we're moving now into a new area of competence, a higher level of competence. And this higher level of competence has everything to do with the resources that we use. So we started on this in the previous Congress. Let's go ahead and move forward with this as well, because the ancestors put it all together for us this week. Justice Akil, I am so grateful for you, just so that you're aware, because what you brought forth with the 1099 piece, the 1099 affidavits that we do, what you brought forth last week just opened up the whole process and clarified the process even greater in terms of all that we're doing. So, Islam justice.
You know, a lot of that stuff I got from previous classes that you have done in the past.
Yes.
Yes. So I just was regurgitating the stuff you did.
And you know what? I'm so grateful you did, because we've done so much that it helps to have the reminder of, hey, don't forget about this part, and hey, don't forget about that part. So when you see this this presentment today, Justice Akil, you'll see how everything comes together. So when we're talking about, initially about 2 Congresses ago, we talked about revoking. It was actually 3 Congresses ago. We talked about the 3-day revocation process. So one of the empresses, whom we're so grateful for, shared some information about how she signed a contract, and then she used the 3-day revocation clause in order to revoke the contract within that 3-day period. That really expanded my turban in terms of the 3-day period when the Christ was in the tomb and came out and had the keys of everything there. We know that that's a valid process. So we started looking at the transactions, actions and transactions. Our court actions first, and then the transactions that we do when we're enforcing our court actions. So let's use doing an exchange on an automobile, because Justice Willie brought up some things about that in the previous Congress as well. So we will to expand that process so that it is clear to all of us how to do it. When we're going to do an exchange for an automobile, there's a reason why it's called an exchange. X means not, and exchange, and change is a change, is a transformation in this case. X has several different meanings, by the way. X can mean previous or from the past, like an ex-consort or an ex-friend, or an Exx Relationne. So as we're beginning to move now to possession, all transactions consist of 3 basic elements. And we're going to speak to each one of these elements as we show this process. The first element in the transaction or exchange process is the contract. That's the paper. The second element is the sale. The sale is when the property moves from the custody of one to the possession of another. And then the third is the actual agreement without obligation or penalty, okay, which is separate from the contract and separate from the sale. So we started talking about the contracting process recently. So the ancestors led us to put it into steps. Step number 1, choose your resource. So if it's a conveyance, an automobile, or it's a domicile or something of that nature, choose your resource, whatever it is. Now, we do a lot of planning and a lot of pre-planning. We are very proactive with what we do, particularly with these types of mechanisms, in the financial mechanisms. So the contract, once the contract is signed, because did you know that a contract, in contracting, the promise to pay is already the payment. We talked about that previously. When you look up the word pay or payment, the word promise is ingrained in that. When you look up the word promise, the word pay is there. So the contract is signed, and this is how we would do it. Step one, choose your resource, whatever it is. The contract is signed with all rights perfected in blue ink or red ink. We would suggest that, and we are speaking in ancient English, so note that we spell in ancient English as well. So these are not typographic errors. We're erudite with spelling, just for those who are new.
Islam.
Islam.
Yes. So today I was sharing the affidavit and thing with my two friends who are here listening, and they were concerned about it. To just tell them it's old English we're using, because the older the English, the more ancient we are. That's why we're trying to depict, right? Indigenous and ancient.
Yes. And we get to define what the word means because we're the original Phoenicians also. And the Phoenicians, our great ancestral Phoenician clans developed the definitions for all words. The etymology for the words, particularly the root words for all words. And so that's what we look at even when we're spelling in ancient English. And the beauty of ancient English is that each and every one of us already knows how to write and read and spell in ancient English. You spell according to the spirit when you're writing ancient English, just for us to just give a sidebar on that. Ancient English, as each one of us is writing or typing or spelling out something, the spirit will tell you to put an E here or put an extra T there or take the E off or put an F on the end or, put 2 F's instead of 1. The spirit will lead you on how to write in ancient English, and this is what we found about the Moors that write in ancient English, is that when you write in ancient English according to the spirit, and you let the spirit lead you in how to spell things, you spell them however you will to spell them, that when we look at your writing as a whole, it will have the markings of a particular language. So some Moors, when they let the spirit lead them and they're spelling according to ancient English and their whatever it is that they're writing out, some Moors, we know that the majority of their ancestors spoke Latin most of the time because of the way that the spells manifested through them. For others, for ourselves in particular, as we're spelling things in ancient English according to whatever the Spirit says, we notice that the majority of our ancestors spoke French. Others, as they're writing, they will notice that when you look at it as a whole, a lot of the words come out with a Spanish spelling. So that tells them that there's a lot of Spanish in their blood, in their bloodline. A lot of, and so that will, that's how ancient English works, is we spell according to whatever the Spirit says at that time. And guess what? Everyone can read it. Everyone can read our writings. Everyone knows what we intend because the Spirit tells us what each one of us is saying. So there's been very few who wrote in ancient English, and I've seen some ancient English that was just phenomenal. It was all symbols for some. Their letters looked like symbols. For others, their letters looked like Hebrew. For some, their letters looked like almost like Chinese hieroglyphics or something of that nature, because they just let the Spirit write through them. So, but we could still read it. We still knew what they meant, and we knew what their intention was as they wrote. So you already know how to use and write and spell in ancient English. So I thought I would just give that sidebar on ancient English. And it will mean exactly what you intend, and no one can change the meaning of what you intend. Islam. So back to this process, when you choose your resource and a contract is represented before you, we, after putting all of the documentation of who you are and what your authority and your power is on the public record, and we know that's the 40-something documents, then you can say all rights are perfected in blue ink or red ink. We suggest blue ink for commerce. Okay? We suggest red ink for lawful court actions. And we suggest that you correct any addresses in the contract. We suggest that it's not necessary to correct the addresses because the contract is void ab initio anyway, because it's being presented by someone pretending to be a car dealer who's not really that. They are subjects in the office of car dealer. They're not banks either. Step 2 is the revocation process. The 3-day revocation cancellation process begins, and that's a 72-hour window, a kairos in the Latin. Kairos is a specific time period. Chronos is all time periods. So the 3-day revocation cancellation period begins once you sign the contract and receive possession. During the 3-day revocation cancellation period, the sovereign buyer sends notification for revocation and cancellation by mail or hand given to the subject in the office of the seller. So whoever it is that's pretending to be the seller or the sailor, okay, and we say sail because commerce is a water action. Then what we will do is quote 16 CFR, Code for Federal Regulation, 16 CFR 429D. And again, we're going to take a quick look at that because there are some details in this Code for Federal Regulation that absolutely state that we have the authority to do exactly what we're doing with regard to canceling and revoking the contract. And we're going to show you how you can cancel the contract but not the sale. And that's why we stated what we stated up here about the elements involved in a transaction. There's the contract, which is separate from the property itself. Then there's the sale. That's the property moving from one place to another, from one custody to another, a chain of custody. Empress Nabi mentioned chain of custody in our previous Congress, and do you know how important that is to this process? See, when we state who we are on the public record, and then we put the subjects in their proper place. So we know they're not judges. We know they're not car dealers. We know because they don't own any cars. They don't own any steel. They don't own any metal. They don't own plastic, glass, or any materials that you can touch. All of that is a part of our estate. So when you put them in the proper status of subject and you keep them there, then the chain of custody from ancient times for whatever materials they used for those cars to make the rubber for the tires and all of that, the chain of custody remains with us. See, subjects know that they are ours. They're on our land. They know that. It's only when Moors give them titles like the officer, which they never were, the car dealer, and all of that. If you give them a title, then they can do whatever they want with the property. That's why we don't give them titles. They have no titles. Okay. That's a part of the supremacy clause in the Constitution for the United States. Islam, Empress.
Islam, Grand Rising, Malembe Azola. Could you open for Noble Anthony, please?
Yes, Islam.
Thank you.
Islam.
Islam.
So once it is signed, then the revocation period begins. So we start with 16. We quote 16 Code for Federal Regulation 429D, and the reason we updated the spelling to an ancient spelling for this Code for Federal Regulation is because we've restated it. That means we get to edit it according to our will, and we can have it say what we will for it to say. So let's just take a quick look at 429.1 and a little bit further, just quickly.
Islam, Empress.
Islam, nobility.
One question. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
when you go, in order to sign the contract for the conveyance, they're going to want fiat or some sort. So what are we paying with before we go and cancel the contract and not the sale?
So what you're going to do is you're going to use a proof of funds to subvert that. You're going to create a proof of funds from a bank that says you have this amount in your account. And you're going to stamp that with the court stamps and seals for whatever county you're at.
Do you have to have a bank account with that bank?
No.
Okay.
For you, Justice, for those who don't have a bank account, you can always refer to your Treasury Direct account using your social and the Treasury Direct routing number.
Right.
You can always do that. And I do that even though I have restated bank accounts. I use that one. Because everything is coming from the Treasury anyway, because we're the Treasury. You must create your own proof of funds and stamp and seal it as a county document. The county and the Treasury are working together. Islam.
There was a bond among the documents that we do for $100 million that I understand that we can use it to like for insurance purposes and things like that. Isn't that so?
Yes, we have. There's 1,000,001 ways to show proof of funds. 1,000,001 ways. That is another one. So Justice Akil, that's another one. You don't have to have a bank account to do whatever it is you will to do on your own land.
Can you repeat the process of doing it through the Treasury?
So with the Treasury piece, to show proof of funds, first you do the lien, levy, and bond on the Treasury. So know those processes, lien, levy, and bond, and they're not difficult processes. We have templates out there for that you can study. Lien, levy, and bond. And that bond that you do is what Justice Willie is talking about. That bond is going to be your proof of funds. And the account number can either be the social with the routing number to the Treasury Direct, And we've shown that on here several times, but let's see if we can pull that up again. Treasury direct routing number. Let's see. We will to show all. Let's see all. Yeah, here it is right here. And we've restated this number. Okay. So this is the number, 051736158. This is the number that we have been, that we restated. Your state security number, which is a restated social security number, because we don't use their social, because their social is a debtor social. We use that same sequence of numbers, but it's restated, so it doesn't have the minus signs in it.
Trying to teach you something
Okay.
she would never do herself.
So the Treasury direct routing number is that, and then even my checks that I created have some of them have that routing number and my social as my state security number as the account number. That's your bank.
Why does
That is your internal revenue number as well. That's your bank account number. That's your internal revenue number.
Why do you and Raymond
and all of that?
This guy, where's
Just a kill. So now back to the Code for Federal Regulation regarding the cancellation of the contract. Here at 429.1, the rule is that it says in connection with any door-to-door sale, it constitutes an unfair and deceptive act or practice for any seller to do these bunch of things here, okay? You know, the seller cannot, they were supposed to give a cancellation of contract that you were supposed to be given one of those. Something that says you can cancel this contract at any time, but you have 3 days to do it. Fail to furnish the buyer with a fully completed receipt or copy of any contract pertaining to such sale at the time of its execution, which is in the same language as that principally used in the oral sales presentation. Listen to me carefully. We never spoke dead English. We never spoke debtor English. So our oral presentation is always ancient English. Everything we do is in ancient English. That's why when people went into fake courts and started talking about a constitution, they act like they didn't hear you, because you were not speaking the same English as the dead. And that's what this is saying. It's saying that whatever language you speak orally, that's the language that the contract is in. Okay? So there's no way that they can furnish you with a receipt or a copy of a contract in the proper language. There's no way they can do that, because they don't speak ancient English. Subjects speak common English. Common English. And corpses were speaking dead commercial English, completely different type of English, not even the same. It's like the difference between apples and watermelons. Completely different, not the same at all. Or apples and elephants. So it says it shows they're supposed to give you a receipt or a copy of the contract which shows the date of the transaction, and we know that they can't give the right date. Their dates are always incompetent because they have the month first, then the day, then the year, which is not the order of events. It's year, month, and day, or day, month, and year. Either way. But it's never the month first, then the day, and then the year. That's out of order. And you can't use slashes and things like that because that's not proper date. It has to be spelled out. And they don't spell things out. They just don't. So that's going to void the contract, because if date is incorrect, then when does the 3-day period start and when does it end? They can't tell you that. Then it says the name and address of the seller, which we have never gotten. None of us have ever gotten that. Even in our sleep, none of us got that. Because they would give the name of the quote-unquote dealership, not the seller's address. Well, who was really selling it? Who was really doing the selling? And then it says, in immediate proximity to the space reserved in the contract for the signature of the buyer, and they misspelled the word buyer, by the way, or on the front page of the receipt if a contract is not used. And in bold face type of a minimum size of 10 points, a statement in substantially the following form. So not necessarily this form is what they're saying. They're saying substance-wise it has to be similar to this. It says you, and see, this is what they were supposed to provide you with, which never happened. You,
Why didn't you
the
do this for your...
You, the buyer, may cancel this transaction at any time prior to midnight of the 3rd business day after the date of this transaction. See the attached notice of cancellation form for an explanation of this right. It's not a privilege, it's a right. You have the right to cancel a contract, okay? You have a right to do that. The seller may select the method of provided notice of cancellation form set forth in paragraph B of this section, provided, however, that in the event of cancellation, the buyer must be able to retain a complete copy of the contract or receipt. They never gave you a completed copy of a contract or receipt. Never gave you that. Because there were always underlying things floating around under there. And we never, in our sleep, we didn't perfect our rights. Some people reserved their rights. But if you reserve them and don't use them, it's like you don't have them. It says, furthermore, if both forms are not attached to the contract or receipt, the seller is required to alter, that means change, the last sentence in the statement above to conform to the actual location of the forms. Now, the reason why this part is underlined, is lined under, is because you have the authority to alter the contract. And even if you alter it, it's still not valid. Why? Because they're pretending to be a seller and they're selling something that doesn't belong to them. It's yours from the beginning. The stuff is already ours. That's the point. It's just a matter of getting this piece correct. And then the location, they're always going to quote a 2-letter state, which is not real. So they'll say that the dealership is located in Federal Way, WA, or Montgomery, Al, for Alabama. Those places don't exist. It's Montgomery, Alabama spelled all the way out. It's Federal Way, Washington spelled all the way out. New York, New York spelled all the way out. Everywhere. It has to be spelled all the way out to be correct. There's no map. Islam nobility.
Should you call the territories or even the landmass by the colonistic term, or should we start calling them by their, proper name?
What does your spirit say?
I'll say use it by the proper name, because if you're still using colonialistic terms.
Colonists don't have a term.
Well, when you say New York, and it's not New York, it's the land of Nod.
You can call the land of Nod if you want to call it that. We're calling it New York because that's the commercial name of it. And we're talking about commerce.
Okay. I'm just trying to get an understanding.
Commerce is a different level from the actual land, and we've stated that several times regarding the special purpose vehicle called commerce. Commerce is not the land; it's a special purpose vehicle.
So
the
why
United
was
States is a special purpose vehicle also. The United States is a special purpose vehicle also. So when we said United States, because we created our own special purpose vehicle, it's not the land, it's a vehicle where commerce is done, where the sovereigns can go use a person to do things inside of that United States for America vehicle. So when we do that, we just use the commercial terms for the area, the jurisdiction. Those are commercial jurisdiction, political jurisdiction, judicial jurisdiction. It's whatever we say it is, whenever we say it. So that's why we don't say land of Nod when we're doing commerce, because I will say this: when you're doing contracts, when you're doing contracting and you're about to like revoke or cancel a contract, it simplifies the process to use the commercial name of that jurisdiction.
Islam.
So New York is a commercial jurisdiction. Islam.
Okay. I need you to weigh in on this. Okay. In their economy, let's put it that way, they use our names and capitalize it and created it as a corporation or transmitting utility, a sole trade or whatever, and then give us that to navigate in commerce. However, they turn around and try to let us think that we are the corporation. Now, would you say when we have changed our status, corrected our status, and nationalize and become a more and what have you, that would we be doing commerce with an instrument like a trust, or would we be doing commerce as man to woman, man and man? What would you suggest? Should we have an instrument that we function from, or should, like, say you ask me to paint your fence green, we sign a contract, is it my trust and your trust sign, or is it you and I sign woman to man? What's your view?
It's whatever we agree on.
Mm-hmm.
That's why contracting is so important. It's agreement between the parties. So now, for let's say if you're buying an automobile, it's still up to you which person you're going to use to do that. Which person you're going to use to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The people govern the persons.
Right.
So you can use a person that, this is the point, and this is the answer to the question. When we do things like buying automobiles and things of that nature, we don't use an all capitalized person.
Mm-hmm.
We use in capitis diminutio people to do that, because the people have to govern the process. Persons are a mask that people were wearing. The people cannot wear the mask anymore. we must, and that's what V was all about. V for Vendetta, that movie, and all of that was about someone wearing a mask and taking from the rich and giving to the poor. No, the people, we've already suspended capitalism. So now what we're doing is using the people to get things on our own land. See, when you use a person, the location of the person depends on who created the person. That's further answer to your question. If you try to use a person that you didn't create, you're going to go to jail. An all-caps name that you didn't create, if you try to use that, you're going to go to jail. You know why? Because it's against the law. And who is the law? You. If you didn't create it, that makes it a bastard and a thing. It's a creature. Not a creation, a creature. Because then you have to say, well, who did create that thing? That all caps thing. Who created it? The ones that people keep calling frauds and stuff. Well, why would you want to use a fraud? Something created by a fraud. Why? And think and expect them to enforce the Constitution and obey the Constitution. Why? You wouldn't do that.
Because it becomes your estate, isn't it?
It doesn't become, nothing becomes until you create it. That's when it becomes. When you create it.
So if I have worked all my life and then I retire, and I have a social security and all of that, I'm supposed to get my retirement checks on a monthly basis, and it's a part of my estate. I have my house, my this, my that. It was in the all caps. I put them on the trust. Now they belong to me. So because I earned them through my energy over the years. So what are you saying? Should I abandon my estate or should I claim my estate? What is the school of thought here?
You've abandoned it if you're using someone else's person and you haven't properly proclaimed created your own person, which looks the same.
Okay, so it's just a matter. It's just a matter of you're not saying abandon. You're saying restating, remaking what's ours. That's what you're saying.
That's the proper way to do it, so that if there are any claims of like, oh, you owe a debt, so we're going to take your retirement. No, it's not theirs to do that with. They have to have your permission for that. But if you haven't restated the vehicle by which the benefit or the resource comes, then they tend to do whatever they want to do with it. And because they're bankrupt, they're going to try and take it.
Correct. So like even the fraud address that they give us with the postal codes and things like that, it is incumbent upon us to change our address to the proper reckoning, as in the meets and bounds, the coordinates.
Just spell everything out. Simplify. Just spell everything out. Yeah.
Okay. So you could go around all that I mentioned and just spell everything out instead of saying on, and you leave out the postal code as well.
I can put it's not a postal code, it's a post office code.
Okay.
So again, and you can leave that off if you will, because those are not necessary to locate any place.
Yeah, it's a jurisdictional matter with the. I understand that the postal code as well as what you call it, zip code, in your atmosphere there.
Well, no, not here. We don't have zone improvement codes here. There's no improvement necessary. This land is what it should be. So here we use post office codes, and they are the same number sequence as a quote unquote zip code, but it's a restated number sequence.
Right.
They look the same, but we put post office code colon and then that number, or post office code and then the number. on the bottom line of the address. So it would be Post Office Code 98023.
Islam.
Islam.
Can you open the meeting?
Sure.
This one.
So now there again, when canceling the contract, we must state things properly. And in order to do, we do not suggest anyone do this process if you don't have those documents on the public record. At least the first 6 documents, but the 40 more so because you're moving money around. Okay? And in order to move money, you must have the authority that is the currency controller. That's one of the 40-something documents. A court has to speak. Every action and transaction, a court has to speak. We are our own court. That's what gives us the right to do the things that we're doing. So here it says that the seller is required to alter the last sentence in the statement above to conform to the actual location of the forms, which they, actors never did that. The seller fails to furnish each buyer at the time the buyer signs the door-to-door sales contract or otherwise, agrees to buy consumer goods or services from the seller a completed form in duplicate captioned either notice of right to cancel or notice of cancellation. For us, it's just the one word, cancellation or cancellation affidavit.
Let's see you at Mercedes.
Okay. It says notice of right to cancel, notice of cancellation, which shall, where applicable, contain in 10-point bold-face type the following information in Spanish as that used in the contract. Now, listen, Morris. There's a reason why there's a specific font. There's a reason why language is important. There's a reason for all of that. That's why we have our own language and we do our own everything. Because they know that those characteristics of a contract, if they're not what they should be, then the contract is null and void. And for them, it's null and void anyway. Islam? Islam.
How come I never hear you mention like the American Styles Manual or Manual of Styles, which speaks about things like these that you're talking about?
So if you go back and listen to many of our previous Congresses, we've always talked about the United States Style Manual, the Chicago Style Manual, even the Canon Style Manual, the Vatican Style Manual.
Okay.
So those style manuals, and we'll just mention them since you brought them up, they talk about things such as the tone of the writing. They talk about whether things are capitalized or not and what that means. It even talks about the color and the etymology of the words. So we've done the study on writing style manuals. The older the writing style manual, the better. So if you get one from the 17 or 1800s, you've got one that's pretty reliable. But ultimately, anything that's written out there, we must restate it properly. That's where Justinian capitalization came from. During the Justinian period was the first time capitalization, well, and I can't say the first time, but the first time in modern times, which was around the 1700s, the Justinian period, was, I believe, 16 or 1700s, is when capitalization became a thing. So when the people are speaking, though, in these contracting events, you are to stay the people the whole time. Never become an all capitalized person throughout the whole contracting event. Never. That way the jurisdiction stays the same. So the notice of cancellation, and this is done within the 3-day period, this is what it looks like according to the 16 Code for Federal Regulation 429D. This is what a cancellation looks like. It says you enter the date of the transaction, and then it says you may cancel this transaction without any penalty or obligation. And it says you're not obligated to return the property, because you're not canceling the property, you're not canceling the sale, you're canceling the contract. The sale is different from the paper. The sale has direct effect on the property. And when it says that you're not obligated and there's no penalty, that's what that means. You're not obligated to return the property. But here's how that works. Within 3 business days from the above date, if you cancel any property traded in, and so now they're talking about if you gave them a vehicle and then got a new one, you gave them the old one, got a new one, or any payments made by you under the contract or the sale. That's how you know they're different, because they say or. Under the contract or the sale, two different things. Islam Empress.
Oh, I didn't. My apologies. I didn't realize I was unmuted.
That's how we know that contract and sale is 2 different things. And then the sale and the contract are 2 different events. Again, we are canceling the contract and not the sale. And see, when you cancel the contract, that means that the waters that the sale took place on change. Now it's not a lost at sea contract. It's not a lost at sea event. You're putting it on peaceful waters. It says, and any negotiable instrument executed by you will be returned within 10 business days. So this means that if let's say you gave a proof of funds, because you can give a proof of funds. If the proof of funds is not returned within 10 business days following receipt by the seller of your cancellation notice, and any security interest arising out of the transaction will be canceled. So if you cancel, any of that stuff will be returned to you by the seller of your cancellation notice, and any security interest arising out of the transaction will be canceled. If you cancel, you must make available to the seller at your residence in substantially as good condition as when received any goods delivered to you. Let's stop right there. This is where the address is going to be so important, because you do not live or reside, rather, or domicile in any 2-letter state. It's just not possible. Those don't exist. Your residence is spelled all the way out. Your domicile, domiciliary. Residence is a commercial legal term. To domicile is a lawful term, and to live is a spiritual term. So where you live is in your temple. And none of those 3 places can any frauds or fake contracts speak about. That's why the address is so important. So it says, If you cancel, you must make available to the seller at your residence in substantially good condition any goods delivered to you under this contract or sale, or you may, if you wish, comply with the instructions of the seller regarding the return shipment of the goods at the seller's expense and risk. No frauds can enter a state that's spelled all the way out. No frauds can come onto the land like that. That's why they started abbreviating things in the 60s. An abbreviation is not the actual thing, it is a substitute, according to Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. And we're not substituting the land for anything. So then you won't be working under the contract because you're going to cancel the contract, not the sale. And then you're going to sell it yourself. It says, if you do make the goods available to the seller and the seller does not pick them up within 20 days of the notice of your notice of cancellation, you may retain or dispose of the goods without any further obligation. So if they don't come within 20 days, which they never will, when you put the right addresses there, they'll never come because they can't see those places. They can't come to those places. If you fail to make the goods available to, or if you agree to return the goods to the seller, which you'll never agree to that, because again, the seller is somebody who had the authority to sell it in the first place. That's you. You can't sell something you don't own. So then it says, then you remain liable. If you agree to return the goods to the seller and fail to do so, then you remain liable for performance of all obligations under the contract. And again, this is not anything you're going to do because you're going to cancel the contract. And then it says to cancel this transaction. Now, they changed the language up there. It's a little bit of a bait and switch on the language. They said to cancel this transaction because they're saying any part of it, if you use the word transaction, then you're canceling the whole thing. And then then the property has to be given back. Okay? Because you canceled, if you cancel the transaction, you're canceling the sale, the contract, and the agreement to obligation or penalty, which is the 3 elements of contracting. So you're not canceling the transaction. That's the wrong word. The right word is you're canceling the contract. So to cancel this contract, mail or deliver a signed and dated copy of this cancellation notice or any other written notice. So that's where our court actions and our affidavits come in at. And the 1099-A and all of that. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute as a part of this process. To the name of the seller, at the address of seller's place of business. And they notice there are death brackets there. Brackets are an indication. It's like a casket because they already know that the address of the seller's place of business, we're going to spell that all the way out, so they still won't be able to move. They won't be able to do anything because the jurisdiction is not the same. Not later than midnight of whatever the date is. And we're going to put the date. And then it says after that it says, I hereby cancel this. And they say transaction because they're trying to include all 3 of those and implement penalties and obligations. But they can't do that because we know language, we know words. I hereby cancel this contract. Sale is not canceled and is complete. Then the date, and then the buyer. We spell that word We spell it B-U-Y-O-R. That's how we spell that word, buyor. So then once you've done that, once you've signed the contract and now you're getting ready to cancel, you're preparing the cancellation process with this something similar to this language. Place your statement on United States Travel and Transportation Ministry Affidavit letterhead. And however you place that is how you place it. We can show you what that letterhead looks like. This is United States Travel and Transportation Ministry letterhead, and I just put a few things up there just so that you see what we're actually doing with this. You can subpoena things. You can do craft and create your police reports, because we're the police. We're the courts. We're all of that. So anything that you will to do, you can do it using United States Travel and Transportation Ministry letterhead, and this is what it looks like. And then you just put whatever you're going to put on there. Notices, notifications of court actions, evidentiary results, police reports, court action, verdicts, things of that nature. So however you will to manifest on with the United States Travel and Transportation Ministry, you can do that. Completely up to you. So you want to place your statement, your cancellation statement on there. And when you use this letterhead, just know that you are speaking from the place of, you're the head of the Travel and Transportation Ministry. And even though you are the Travel and Transportation Ministry assisting someone who ascribes to part of the Travel and Transportation Ministry. Okay? Place your cancellation statement on there. If you have made, after you have made a copy of the capitalized bill, so the capitalized bill would be the fake contract, that was given for the automobile, a payment book, any of that stuff. After you've made a copy of it, then puncture it. Puncture the four corners and the middle of each page of the copy. And you want to keep a copy of the capitalized bills for your record that you signed, the one that you signed for the original, not original because it's a capitalized bill, so it's not original. Enclose the punctured capitalized bill with your 16 Code for Federal Regulation cancellation affidavit. Plus, and Justice Akil, we thank you for reminding us about what we stated earlier, plus the 1099 acquisition affidavit. That will mean that you've acquired, that means the sale went through. You did the sale. The sale is good. The 1099 cancellation affidavit means that the contract and the fiat is no good. So there's a cancellation of the debt there. And then the 1099 original issue discount affidavit, because you originally issued the sale in the first place. And then any other documents according to your spirit. So usually I do the fiduciary, send the fiduciary affidavit with anything like this. Mail or hand deliver within the 3-day period following the signing of the capitalized bill. Okay. So you see what to do within the 3-day period? It's the cancellation according to 429-16 Code for Federal Regulation 429, the rule. Do the rules, write your affidavit on United States Transportation, Travel and Transportation Ministry letterhead. Do that first. Write the cancellation out. Then, after you've written the cancellation out, make a copy of the capitalized bill, and then do the restated 1099 acquisition affidavit. And again, we don't use their IRS cancellation form. We don't use any of that. We create our own that looks just like theirs. And if you will to see how to do that, go back and look at some of our videos where we showed restated 1099. Okay, very simple to recreate. Just recreate it and put the right language on it. The 1099 acquisition affidavit, the 1099 cancellation affidavit, and the 1099 original issue discount affidavit, and any other documents. Mail or hand deliver that within the 3-day period following the signing of the capitalized bill. Step 3, repeat your perfected process. So any other things that you will to use this process for, these are the steps. If there is, let's say, a vehicle got towed or something, then you can Exx Relationne the all caps VIN number and the make and model and all of that. You Exx Relationne that and put it in proper in capitis diminutio minima. The property must be restated and decapitalized in your cancellation process. Cancel the contract according to the regulation. Again, the property is located at a properly stated address. Okay? So this is just a summary of what we just talked about. This is just a complete summary of what we talked about. Sailors or sellers, and those are actors, subjects in the office of abandonment of the property is 100% guaranteed. Why? Because you put the right, because they can't come to these addresses. Okay? Now, something else that the ancestors showed us and told us and have been making it very clear to us, especially about the cars, the automobiles.
Before you go, point of interest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, while you're there making your presentation,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here looking at a pile of presentments,
Mm-hmm.
so we call them. Did you know, especially the one, I recently got one, like they're saying it's the property assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Now listen to this. 66 Charlotte Street is written out in lower and upper cases. Port Coburn, and then they put right out the province. Ontario is written out, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
They have the postal code, but then when they send it and we're in the same, just 5 minutes away, all of my presentments, bills and what have you, are in 2-letter capitalized words, capitalized letters, state, as you've said.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, and some of them have ST for street and West W, right? So
that means they know that there's a difference in the jurisdiction. They know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So these people are so darn fraudulent that they're 5 minutes away from me or 3 minutes away from me. We're supposed to be in Ontario, yet still all of my bills are with 2-letter states, as you've been saying.
Yeah.
Huh? My God, I look at all of them from all of these people, different companies, and they're all 2-letter capitalized. That means they're saying they're not really selling to the living man. There's no such place, but you're an idiot, so it's take it and go pay, idiot. My God, these people are, jeez.
But see, we didn't correct them though. We have to correct them.
They're fraudulent, man. Go back to Europe, man.
Okay, but Justice Willie, you can't be that mad at them because you were ignorant.
Huh?
You can't be that mad at them because you were ignorant. And I'm not saying that as a...
What I'm saying, my sister, they sit and they surmise to do this kind of fraud on the land. Take it back to the hell where you come from.
But Justice Willie, they couldn't have done it if we wouldn't have let them. That's why we're doing what we're doing now.
Yeah, but man, it's just terrible. Huh?
They won't stop it. You have to stop it.
I know. We're going to correct. Because what I'm planning to do is go through and send them an affidavit of correction and correct all the errors that you've made on these bills. Fix them, and then I'll pay them. Since you want to pay them, fix them.
Justice Willie, don't say you'll pay them.
Well, you're correct, but, I'm just saying, right?
Well, I know what you're just saying, but you can't just say. You actually have to cancel those. And now there's another part to this process for those who say, but we should pay our bills. There's another part to it. Those bills are not your bills, just so that you're aware. That's the point
they
of
belong to Puerto Rico and Guam and whatever the trust.
It's just a capitalized piece of stuff. Fraud. It's fraud.
Criminals.
No, Justice Willie.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
It's no excuse. That's why I keep saying, don't argue with them. It's not even, them things ain't got nothing to do with what we doing.
No, they're upholders of nastiness and fraud and slackness and corruption. That's what they're here every day. They're like a nuisance in people's ears. They're nasty. Go back to Europe with your fraud. Leave pure people alone. We don't want to just live. We don't leave us alone. Go back, sir, with no fraud. Get off of the line. Nastiness. So no way.
Just so that you're aware they're not on the land. That's why they keep using two-letter states. That's not the land. They're not on the land.
It's not
water snakes.
Yes. Sea creatures. Lost at sea creatures. Justice Dumois, what were you stating?
I was just going to tell them they're not people. Subjects.
No, they're not even people. But see, when people are mad or get emotional, you mess around and call them people, and they're not people. Islam.
I want to remind you that you was expressing that the ancestors wish us to know something concerning the automobiles.
Yes.
Okay. That's all.
Islam. So, Justice Ogunwale, what I was going to state is that regarding the automobiles, we will not answer for a capital because that's what we were doing previously, Justice Willie. We were answering for a capital. That means a capital letter. That's what the Fifth Amendment talks about. We have every right to claim things that have been previously capitalized, but we have to decapitalize them, just like they were busy attempting to denationalize us, okay? We have to decapitalize and have it be what it should be, call it the right name. Now, what we can do as an extra added measure, once we decapitalize all that has to do with that piece of property, then we pay in our own money, having decapitalized the property, and notify the subjects in the office of sailor or seller that the property that you have, that we have, is not what he sold, but is allocated and appropriated by Exx Relationne at the ancient United States, and that you are in possession of we are in possession of the original title, recordation certificate, and sales receipt. So we have to create a sales receipt. Remember, we stated that we would use our own money and do the exchange and notify them that the exchange has been completed. The sale is complete because we prepaid upfront with our own money, which is gold and silver. Now, when I say gold and silver, Morris Sovereign Dolarium gold receipts is gold and silver because we say it is. It's tender. Now, some can argue with me about that if you will to, but all you got to do is look up the word coin. We created Morris Sovereign Dolarium gold receipts. We coined it. We coined it. So it is gold coin and silver coin because we coined it. So we'll prepay and show that the prepayment in full for the property has been done, and then we create the title, the recordation certificate, which some would call a registration certificate, and the sales receipt showing that it's paid in full. Okay, and you can send a copy of the, you don't want to send a copy of the title, but you can send a copy of the recordation certificate and the sales receipt. And then what you'll do after that is notify motor vehicles, notify transportation, notify the state secretary office by sending copies of actions and recordation. Create the title, create the original manufacturer's affidavit, which some call a manufacturer's certificate of origin. That's what they would call it. And create the sales receipt in Dolarium gold receipts, which is the United States Treasury money. And that's the process. That's the process from start to finish. It's revocation and it's proper naming and proper creation. So when they talked about something called, and this is how it was done, they called it the transatlantic slave trade, where they called themselves moving Moors over to a place and calling them black and Negro and colored and African American. They did it by paperwork using financial terms and terminology, and then revising their identity, which cannot be done, by the way. No one can revise our identity unless we agree to it, and we don't agree to it. And so now what we're doing is bringing everything back to the land by the process. This is just a regular process. This is the way things are done. This is the way finance is done. This is the way contracting is done. If they can alter, we can alter. There it is right there. But make sure that you know that there's no penalty, no obligation. And then even the Constitution states that the United States, the debtor one, is still held to all the obligations and penalties as before this Constitution. So we're just doing what we do. We're the creditor, United States, because we've always been the states united, always, since time immemorial. And then there's a debtor one. And all we're doing is making the ledgers balance. We're not contracting with them because they're not even who they say they are. They're not the seller. We're the seller. That's why we're going to do the sale. That's the process. Are there any questions, comments, wisdom about the process? Everyone is awfully quiet. Can you all hear me?
I got one.
We hear.
Yes.
Okay, great. As long as you can hear me. Great.
Yes, we hear you.
Go ahead, Nobility.
I was going to ask the manufacturer's certificate of origin.
Mm-hmm.
What would that look like if we need to restate it?
Just pull one up on Google and use that as a template, and then just go about changing and restating it.
I mean, I kind of thought of that, but I just thought maybe you could.
We've shown you that before. About 2 years ago. We showed how what a manufacturer's, and all we did was pull one from Google and start changing and making it state what it should state.
Yeah, thank
you.
Islam Empress.
Islam Nobility.
Peace and great grand rising.
Peace and great grand rising, Nobility.
You're looking really extra beautiful this evening, Empress.
Thank you, Nobility. I appreciate that.
I'm kind of under the weather, so my voice is not so 100%. Mm-hmm. I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to the lien, levy, and bond process that you're demonstrating on the automobile.
Mm-hmm.
On the bond, you had included, it was two entities. One was the dealer, and the other one, I'm not sure if that was a second dealer or it was the manufacturer. But my question in particular is, if I do put a lien on the dealer, could I also include the manufacturer on the same document, on the lien? So
that
it would be
suggested.
Okay. So I could have both the dealer and the manufacturer on one document, on one lien.
Knowing that they are not the dealer or manufacturer, that's why you're liening them, because that's not the proper term for them. That's why you're liening. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. Islam.
Gratitude, Empress.
Islam.
Gratitude. Enough love and respect.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
Grand Rising.
Great Rising, Empress.
So my question is, we had did a process earlier, like 2 years ago, concerning conveyance and domicile for transactionally things. And
Empress Angel?
Islam.
Is that you?
Islam.
It's great to hear your voice, Empress. We missed you.
Yes, Grand Rising.
Islam.
Welcome back. I'm busy here saying it's not Empress Angel.
Yes, it is. Let us go ahead and celebrate.
Empress Angel.
Grand Rising. I got a slip in there. Grand Rising, Empress Angel. Good to hear your voice. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Gratitude. Yes. And so, the process we had did before, we had did everything you pretty much stated, but we had went and got a purchase agreement, and that was pretty much it. And then we restated it, and we did a different process than doing a signature on a corporate contract and then rescinding our signature. So this is a different process essentially because things have changed. So, but I'm thinking also that if we created a universal contract like we did for Section 8, welfare clause contract, and just created it and then made it for all transactions, and one for conveyances and one for domiciles, that would change the scope, and we wouldn't have to concern ourselves with the termination within 3 days and that whole process, because we would have our own contract in that regard, and we would be the controllers and the authors from the beginning, and because we've already taken over and would have nationalized our resource.
So know that our ancestors are eruditing us in all positions. So the process that we did last year that you're referring to, we still have to know that process, because at some point we're going to be issuing automobiles in our empire to each other and to others. So we had to know that one. This one is the other side of the event. This is from the buyer perspective instead of the seller or the one who is obtaining the conveyance. So that process is still a process. It's still necessary. Writing our own contracts, okay, because that was the difference. Is on some things that we've been discussing and discoursing the process, we write our own contracts. Yes, we must know that, and we must do that, because there will be times when we're like, if I was to sell a conveyance to you, then we have to have our own contracts in place. We have to. Or you could accept the contract that I have. So we have to know all the processes, all of the positions of the action. So now that was necessary, and we had to know that first, because now we're about to start moving the actual conveyances, and we were moving them then, but the actual conveyances are going to be coming in with the process, and we're going to be getting them to other moors. And as we do that, we're going to we're going to cancel contracts and all of that. And let's say I get 3 conveyances and I decide I'm going to sell one to you. Then we already have the process to move it, to move the merchandise. The things that we're doing is so that merchandise can move quickly. Large amounts of merchandise can move quickly. We must know those processes before that merchandise arrives.
Islam affirmed. Though when I did the process for the conveyance, I did everything like we had stated previously. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that wasn't 100% clear was the transaction of transfer of resource, which is, now I really understand it, is just an exchange of paperwork and the completion of the obligation. That's what payment is, really. And so in that regard, I didn't quite understand it then, but now that I comprehend it, that process that we did previously, it worked, because the people who I give the information to with the my stated manufacturer certificate, the inspection documentation, the sales, the purchase orders, and all those things, it was it processed through the system as was. And like I said, the only thing I had to comprehend fully was the obligation of exchange for payment. And now that I understand that, that's just more paperwork, really, and properly stating it. in that regard with, proper letterhead from the proper offices and such. But, so, like when you were stating getting a paper contract, I've been so far gone from that whole thing, I just don't want to do that process of signing a contract in that regard. I just no, it's just not a thing because I'm so used to, stating my own and yeah.
So, Empress, you won't have to do that if you don't want to do it. This process is going to move the merchandise from the subjects to us. And then you can use that process, and we have to use that process that you're discussing to get it from each other, because we're going to be getting it from each other. The chain of custody of things coming from us is continued with these processes, with both processes.
When we know the process, if I may, because that whole process is included with the lien, levy, bond, and nationalization of our resources, right?
Yes.
So we send the notification that the company is now a nationalized company. It's no longer corporate fiction. It's a living nationalized resource. Then essentially we are the CEO. So then you just have to properly state your paperwork to know that the creditor is you in the office of the CEO, and then the receiver is you in capitalization minima, because NOLO is the one who's the CEO. Minima is the one who's doing all the paperwork, and your person in all capital letters is a beneficiary.
So in capitis diminutio nolo is the ancient sovereign who doesn't need any processes except a court to do what we do. That's what nolo is. In capitis diminutio minima, which is the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters are lowercase, that's who's going to be doing these processes, because we've suspended capitalism. So the in capitis diminutio maxima is not going to be doing anything. It's going to be the people that are doing the contracting. That way there's no corpses involved. That's the purpose of the cancellation. But just a moment. Justice Willie, hold on for 1 second. I will to make the clarification with Empress Angel. Empress Angel, you do know that the ancestors, that when you did the process last year for the conveyance for the automobile, that the ancestors knew exactly how much you did know and how much you did not know about the finalizing of that process. They knew about how much you knew about the exchange, about whether it was going to be delarium, gold, silver, a lien, a levy, a bond, whatever it was going to be for that process. They knew when you were doing that demonstration what you knew and what you didn't know. Okay, so what they're doing now is just continuing to perfect all that we're doing. Because remember, we did one too. We know now we didn't have everything done in place at the time that we did our automobile demonstration for the Land Rover. So we just said, okay, well let's keep working, because we know it's already ours. It's just that the system has, we're training our system to know that it's ours too.
Yes. So back to the question I was trying to ask is that our person is no longer the beneficiary in all capital letters?
Correct. That's correct. The beneficiary is the people, not the person. We suspended the persons, and we're using the people, us, the living man and woman, the people. It's the people who have the authority to do anything, whether it be, no matter what the letters look like. It's the living people, the living, breathing, original, indigenous, ancient people who have the authority to move money around and move processes and all of that. So we're using the people. The Congress voted on the suspension of capitalization, and we saw some immediate results from that the minute that we did it almost. You know, at any time we can unsuspend capitalism, but we're seeing so much amazing, awesome things happening that we know that was a key. That was indeed a key to stop the capitalization, because we know that capitalization, foreign capitalization, was vomited from the actors acting as Federal Reserve. So that's not a Treasury event. Capitalization is not a Treasury event. It is a Federal Reserve event.
Yeah, because my sister worked for a bank, and right now they're changing the system over, and they're making they put it in the system to regular lowercase letters.
Of course they are, because we said you better do it. Stop the fraud, and it's because of the work that this Congress has done. And we notified everyone. Everyone was notified multiple times. Thank you for that bit of information, Nobility, about the banks and things. See, Nobility, what you said about that really quickly, that's how the subject previously named Bill Gates became so supposedly, quote unquote, wealthy, is because he was the front man for the programs Excel and Access, that where you could take a whole table of names and capitalize all of them with just a few clicks of the button. And then you got everybody capitalized, and they're thinking you're talking about them, when really you made everybody into a corpse. But because he came up with those programs, that's why they said, okay, give him a whole bunch of fiat, because he figured out how to get everybody capitalized all at once. So then different businesses started accepting Excel and Access programs so that they could do the same with their employee database and their customer database and everything else. So everybody got capitalized, and nobody rebutted it until now. So I yield the floor. Empress Angel.
Oh, I was making a point earlier.
Oh, yes, just Willie.
I was just a minor correction. So minima is not upper and lower cases, as you previously said. I think you meant media, because minima is all lower cases like NOLA. Maxima, of course, is the all caps. Media is upper and lower, and minima is just lower.
So when we initially did the study, we looked it up in an older Latin law dictionary, and in Capitis Diminutio, media was where the first name had the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters lowercase, and the last name, the surname, quote unquote, was in all capital letters. That was media in the law book that we looked at. Minima was the first letter capitalized on both the first name, middle name, and surname, and the rest of the letters lowercase. So that's why we said minima, called that minima. And then that particular dictionary did not have in Capitis Diminutio Nolo at all. So we said, let's call it that. All lowercase letters, let's call it in Capitis Diminutio Nolo.
Okay. Kindly let in Benna. She's trying to get in, please, and thank you.
Islam Noble. I think suspending the capital does great for us because they hide behind the capitalized name to exploit the people. So it actually closed that loophole for them to do so.
And we see so much happening in our favor since we did that. That is just amazing. Amazing. The changes that have taken place just since we put that law on the public record. April, were you finished with what you were saying?
Well, I just would like to have it made visual how for the beneficiary to establish the trust indenture. So the trust indenture states the trustee, the beneficiary, the major parties for the trust. So now that we're not having the beneficiary expressed in capital letters, it's capital lowercase. And so will we just have to state the beneficiary is now just the beneficiary? Because like I just learned and studied express trusts and stuff, so it was like easy to know that when you see in all capital letters it's the beneficiary. But so what will it look like now?
So the beneficiary will be, for example,
like for the trust indenture affidavit.
It's never gonna fucking work.
The beneficiary will be the beneficiary. Just one moment. The beneficiary will be Pauline Ritchie in Capitis Diminutio Minima, which is the one at the top.
Angel, you sound just as stupid.
That's the beneficiary.
Brain dead Angel Bay.
Point of interest?
Yes.
For me. All right.
Yes.
So just saying that we suspend capitalization, I don't think that is just good enough, because what they're doing now, which I said to you last week, I think it was, that what they're doing now is I actually got a letter from a law firm writing my name with pen in blue ink and spelling it out just upper and lower cases. And so what's the difference? Someone would ask. Let's say I'm new to this thing. I don't know what's the difference. So I get it in all caps.
So Justice Billy, I'm going to be a bit frank and free with my language here. We don't care what they're doing. See, if they can distract you and have you looking at what they're doing, they'll switch it up every other week. And just keep you looking at what they're doing, because they're clowns. Subjects in the office are clowns. They can't even be a clown if we say not. So then you must know the law and stay with what the law says, which is
exactly.
That's why I said we don't even focus on them, because their job is to jest and be stupid and confused. The definition of the word confusion means war, and war means confusion. And we're not at war, we're at peace.
Mm-hmm.
We are peace. So we're not confused by anything that's happening, because no matter what it looks like, if we didn't write it, we just rebut it. We just,
And it's not just that. Is that if you're saying that you're writing me as a man and you're a woman from a law firm, okay, you're saying that we have a contract.
No, they're not a law firm.
Well,
that's the thing. They're not a law firm at all. They never were.
They call themselves a law firm. So what I'm saying is, once you're addressing a man,
they don't have the authority. Who cares what they call themselves? We don't care. They're not a law firm. Period. Who cares what they call themselves? We don't.
We're the only law.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mommy, take time with me now, Mommy. Please.
We're the law.
Islam, they're relying on our ignorance that they can exploit us. They're relying heavily on our ignorance, so we can't afford.
Yes. We don't even hear them. See, our court doesn't hear them.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they say this court is having a hearing? You know what a hearing is? A hearing is, are we going to validate any words coming out of your mouth? We just don't hear them. Whether it's written, whether they type something and send it or whatever, we don't hear them. And if it's something that the Spirit says rebut that, we rebut it. We do not answer for a capital. Islam, Empress.
So, in a sense, we're saying that no dead thing gets due process.
But what we do is have dominion over it.
Islam indeed.
And that's by way of our courts. Our courts always speak. We don't speak unless it's from our court place, because we're the law, we're the government, we're the police, we're all of that on the land, and there's none beside us. None beside us, none.
It's like enforcing that we don't do necromancy.
Who in the world is going down to the cemetery and having a full-fledged conversation with the bodies?
Islam.
Islam, Empress, can I?
Yes, nobility. Yes, nobility.
Okay, let me. Okay, all right. So I'm Dr. Yasafa, Empress. I'd like to ask you a question about our commerce. Actually, I had no idea that you guys are going to be talking about what I want to ask you about, which is importing product, merchandise from Southeast Asia into the Moroccan Empire through our treaty. So I'm here domiciled in Vietnam. And I think everyone present knows what's happening with the Trump tariffs.
Yes.
And we have a huge opportunity right now to really develop our commerce as an empire. So my question is...
Fucking Negro, you're so stupid. Look at how...
Go ahead,
So my question is, can we work together to make that happen?
Sure. I'll tell you that if you've seen the bills of lading from Vietnam and from any of the other places, those bills of lading are in black ink and capital letters also. Okay, so they have been capitalized fraudulently. And the people that are shipping the items already know that. So what we've been doing, where importing and exporting is concerned, is whoever it is that we're importing from or exporting to, we ensure that they have proper documentation. We have to issue the proper documentation to them. What that looks like is very simple. All we did was get a copy. We just said, hey, can we have copies of your identification card? And no matter what they sent, we said, okay, we're going to, whenever we speak about them, we're going to put it in capitis diminutio minima. It's not going to be capitalized. Our bills of lading are not capitalized. Our shipping manifest is not capitalized. And it's in blue ink, not black. And then what we do also is display our banner for Amity and Commerce. And everyone knows what that looks like. It's at the top of our documents. let's see.
So while you do that, can I ask you a question? So
Sure.
I was thinking about
Yes. It must be government to government. No matter who it is, it has to be government to government.
okay, and in terms of things our people are going to need, like medicine, food, in order to interface with these foreign countries. Good morning. Good morning. In order to interface with these foreign countries, I lost my thought. So for example, let's say if we need antibiotics or other medicines for people who have chronic illnesses and whatever, in case the supply is not there in North America. So we need an interface. So all of these countries require licensing to do certain professional licenses, and he's doing some research about that. Give me 1 second. And so what I found is that our ancestors used something called an ijaza, I-J-A-Z-A-H. So let me read it to you. The ijaza was a formal Islamic certification system that functioned as the pre-colonial equivalent of professional licenses for doctors, judges, scholars, and other elite professionals in the Moroccan Empire and the broader Muslim world. Below is a breakdown, blah, 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 blah. So what I'm thinking is, in order to be able to work with them and not have to deal with that whole issue of licenses, that if the Congress could somehow make a way to provide the ijaza, so at least we can have immediate access to, let's say, medicine or medical equipment, whatever it is we might need in case there is no supply for our people there. We won't have the delay of dealing with the issue about licenses and all of that.
Okay. Let me clarify how we're transcending that part.
Okay.
I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, if my assumption is not correct, that you're getting your products from somewhere other than, let's say, you creating them. You're getting them from a laboratory or someplace like that.
Yeah, so let me clarify. So, for example, I'm in Vietnam, domiciled here in Vietnam, and they have companies who produce many products, different types of merchandise, and they are exporting, for example, to the U.S., to Canada, to Mexico. They're doing that now. But when the Trump tariff hit, that might come to a halt because of the 46% tariff that the Trump administration placed on Vietnam, plus the 10% flat tax across the board for every country. So we're going to raise it up to about 56%. So a lot of these countries, including Vietnam, their companies are just going to hold that stock because there's no buyers. Do you follow what I'm saying? In other words, the companies in the U.S. won't buy it because they can't make a profit off of it. So what I'm proposing that we do as a government is to use the Treaty of Peace and Friendship 1836 as merchants through the Moroccan Empire, and also with the consular jurisdiction, Article 3. And we work with, let's say, for example, the Vietnamese government and or corporations to take their inventory and import it into the Moroccan Empire, and by treaty law, the articles of the treaty, we can then sell that merchandise either to our own people or to U.S. citizens.
So, are you aware, nobility, that we're the ones stopping the movement of those products?
No, I wasn't aware.
Yes, we're the ones who are telling them to stop the movement of those products because they're not produced by us, and they're not natural like the remedies that we use.
Oh.
So we're the ones who told the subject, Trump, to stop that stuff from coming here because it's not natural stuff. So in place of that, but see, we didn't just say stop and not have a remedy. The remedy is what we've been doing with, if you go back and look at some of the videos that the Congress has published regarding the national trade launch. We did a national trade launch on March the 20th and the 20th, 21st, and the 22nd, where we are going out with our own hands onto the land, getting the medicines and the plants, the minerals, the ocean minerals and everything. We're getting that and we're shipping it. And the post office is honoring the shipment, even where we sent things domestically to Canaan land, Canada, Canaan land, or to the Virgin Islands. No matter where we sent our things, we were able to get it there because we're the ones who said we have the medicines and things that we need. We have that already with the natural plants, the natural salt minerals, and things of that nature. So as we continue to do what we're doing, they have to stop doing what they're doing, even at Vietnam. We're stopping all of it. All they were doing was sending things here because we weren't doing our own stuff. We were not producing our own medicines and things. We know what's best for us better than anybody. So, and we've made a way that we can go onto the land and get the resources and and do that unencumbered. So we're the ones doing the stopping, and that is going to it's going to tighten for them over there to the point where we'll be sending them things over there so that whenever they need medicines and things, we will send the natural medicines over there. So for you, nobility, I know that you see something there at Vietnam that's natural that you can ship or share even there with the documentation.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, nobility. Go ahead, nobility.
They have a lot of herbs here, and actually they don't even know what they have. So I know some farmers, but I could, it would be easy to ship herbs or anything, but they're so, they have electronics here, all kinds of merchandise. But when and if the supply stops in North America, our people are going to need food. At least, the
when you say our people, who are you speaking of? When you say our people,
America.
The Moors at America?
Yes.
Oh, everybody's already started growing food. We have more. It's everywhere. Food is everywhere. It's everywhere. And that didn't make CNN and all of that. It's not being put out there, but it's on YouTube. You can see it on YouTube. And then we ourselves, with the national trade launch, many in this Congress have access to shipments of food, such as strawberries or cherries or blackberries or whatever the case may be. And then there are more who are farming, you know, the animals and things of that nature as well. So it's just, as our commerce and mercantilism grows, the other has to stop. All they're doing is letting us know that whenever we give the word, they'll stop completely. And we're not at a shortage here. Don't believe that hype. We have plenty here. It's just a matter of us putting our hands to the plow and getting the work done. And the grocery stores and all of that, they will get in alignment, and they're already in alignment as we continue moving and working.
So what about cars?
It's the same thing with the automobiles. And, you know, even as we're looking at this process that we put here on the record, there are automobiles, and this is what I was going to state earlier that I didn't state, but I'm going to state it now. Here, let's go ahead and talk about the automobile piece. Justice Ogunwale, you stopped me earlier in this, and I was about to make this clear. Even with the automobiles, they have to be decapitalized. So any automobiles that you see here, let me just pull some up. Any automobiles that you see that have lowercase letters like a 1936 or a 1969 Eldorado.
Yeah.
Let me just show you what this is going to be here. So when you look at an Eldorado, and you see, just a moment, I'm gonna mute the sound so that we can. When you look at it, you're gonna see that one of the word Cadillac. See how they're doing things in capitis diminutio minima? When you see a conveyance that has the words in capitis diminutio minima instead of all capitalized, then those are the automobiles that where our process is honored. The older the automobile, the more you'll see that they didn't capitalize the letters on the cars, because that was an indicator too. That started in the late 60s is when they started capitalizing the words on the cars. So even today, we could use our process to go get a 1936 Ferrari or something of that nature. We could go get those using our process even today because they're not capitalized. And that's something that we all need to be aware of. So when you see these cars here, let's see. In this one, you don't even see any words on it. You just see a seal on it. The car is sealed. There's a reason for that. See that seal on the car?
Yes.
We could use our processes today for that. Now, even with the cars that have the all capital letters on it, we can remove those capital letters off of there. Let me just show you really quickly. There was a video that I pulled up earlier today as well. Let me go to my history really quickly.
Islam, why are you looking for that? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Empress.
Well, I remember we did a liquidation declaration for everything, and then we also declared no lack on our land. So we don't lack anything.
We do not.
So it's just a matter of your mindset and the words you profess. And your level of demonstration and understanding.
Yes, yes, indeed. And you know what? Of course, there is no lack for sure, but even still, everything that's here, where there is a will, there is a way to access it, but we have to stay uncorrupted. Let me see if I can find that video. What I'll do is just pull it up on here. Range. Wait a minute. This is it right here. Letter replacement. This guy did an amazing job. They're showing you how to take the letters off. Look how quickly those letters came off the Range Rover. And then he used a sander kind of sort of thing, a buffer, to take the letters off. And he turned around and put capital letters right back on there, which to me was a waste of time. But we can take the letters off, those capital letters off, and put the right letters on there. But it's very simple to take the letters off. That's the process. We must do that. Because guess what? They can't sell the stuff that's on there now, that's on the lot now. Because the fiat has flowed so significantly. Do you see that, nobility? Where the fiat has flowed so significantly that they don't have a way to move the stuff that's on the lots now. You see? Very simple. But these things have to be done. When I looked at even my conveyance that I have out there now, I was just looking to see how can I remove these all capital letters. They're in silver. Granted, it's in silver, but still, removal is necessary. And then whoever is to identify the vehicle, they have to have the documentation to properly identify it. And that's documentation that we do. Do you see now, nobility, what happens with cars, with the automobiles? Dr. Yasapa?
Yes, I see.
Yeah.
I have to start my class in like 1 minute.
We're so glad you came, Dr. Yasapa.
Okay, thanks. But can we continue this conversation?
We can. We'll be right back here on Sunday as well. I think it's important that the Congress here as well because there's so many great minds here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So let's continue it here.
Okay, that's fine.
Islam. Enjoy your class, nobility.
Yeah. So thanks.
Thank you.
I'm going to stay in the meeting. I'm going to mute my mic and continue to listen as I can. Okay. Thank you so much, Empress.
Islam.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
So, Morris, this is other parts that we have to do. Other things that we have to do to because all we're doing is just remaining uncorrupted. Islam, Empress. Empress Imani, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to go back to the discussion where Empress Angel brought up some information, and this is from what I'm understanding that it is a link or an extension of the cancellation process. And so my question is there a name for the process that she was speaking about? And is there a YouTube video as well? Because,
yes.
Okay, because sounds like something that was far before I even came and have no idea. And like I said, it looks like, and it sounds like it's actually an extension of the cancellation process.
Actually, what she was referring to is restating the contract. That's what she was referring to, restating the contract. So the automobile contract that someone acting as a dealer would give you in order to, you know, to do the exchange, she was talking about restating that, which we have done that as well.
Okay, because the restating.
I can't hear you, Empress. Speak up, Empress.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if she's still there, because she mentioned a different term, and I think that's where I got thrown off at, because if
what was that?
I don't know, and that's the reason why I'm hoping she's still on and she's listening, because I didn't write that part down because I didn't intend for us to go too far to you know, before I asked the questions, because now I didn't write that down on what she was stating. Only that, you know, it was something that you all were doing previously, and whatever it was is an extension of, meaning from what I heard you say, we still have to do that as well. So if I'm triggering some memories here, topics.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So that process is different from this process, and you don't have to do both processes. You can do one or the other.
That's what it was. I didn't catch the name of it, and that's the reason why I brought it back up to say, okay, what's the name of it so I can look it up in the video. But if you're stating that we don't have to do both of them, then I'm good, because I can just do this one that we're speaking about now, that, you know, bringing us current.
Yes, and see, you're not, when you do a cancellation, you're not going to put a new contract in place of that one. All you're going to do is the steps that you're going to do the 1099 and all of that, because the contract, once you cancel it, you're canceling the contract, not the sale. Whereas with the process that Empress Angel was doing, she was saying no contract from them at all. I'll do my own contract.
Okay.
That was the difference. And both processes are necessary depending on what you're doing. Okay,
so here's another question. And this is just going to help me kind of visualize what's happening here. I think I'm getting it, but I have to kind of like put it together in my mind. So here's what I'm thinking, though. So even with the cancellation process, we still must do a lien, levy, and bond. Am I correct? And it's probably depending on what we're doing.
So it is necessary to do a lien, levy, and bond on the dealership. That must be done.
Okay, if it's a domicile.
Lien, levy, and bond.
Okay. So then essentially what you're saying, it doesn't matter too much about what it is that you're doing. You still have to do lien, levy, and bond. Then you want to do the cancellation process.
Yes.
Okay.
The process, yes.
Okay. I think I'm getting that. Okay.
Now, and for those who in their sleep purchased, quote unquote, purchased a home, now you know why the stack of papers that you signed was this thick. Ours is only here, little, but it still has to be done. Lien, levy, bond, the 1099 process, and then the title, the recordation, and the indemnis facier or insurance for the house. See, we had to know our own system from start to finish. It's really simple because everything is it's a formula. It's a formula. It's science. It's financial science is all it is. And once you understand and overstand systems, you'll already know that what we're giving you today works for everything. Works for everything in one form, in one fashion, or one event or another. Either the process that Empress Angel spoke about, if something needs to be restated, it must be restated. Because see, you're gonna, even if you did it this way, you're still gonna have to restate title, registration or recordation is what we call it. You're gonna have to, the sales receipt, all of that stuff has to be restated. Or actually stated, because they're really kind of, so either way it goes, we're still the author and the authority and the owner and the heir and the beneficiary and the trustor for the process and for the property. Why is that necessary? Because there was a lot of paper put over our stuff. We don't even have to do half the paper they did. They really wanted, because they did a whole lot of paper. A whole lot. We don't even have to do that much. Not nearly as much as they did, because they was trying to paper around our sovereign status. We're just being ourselves.
Now, if we're going to deed on a domicile, do we still have to turn around and do a cancellation? Because I mean, it's more than just a deed, though. But that's just what's coming to my mind right now.
You have to rebut the deed with another deed. So there's no cancellation necessary, especially if you're not doing any. Where the deed is concerned, there's no cancellation necessary because you're not doing a sale or anything.
Okay, correct. I got that now. Okay, because I was trying to figure out. Okay, looking at it, how would that process look like when you're actually, or when we? So when we're actually rebutting. So I think that would be the correct term. So when we're actually rebutting everything, because we're doing our own documents. Yeah. So that means I'm not signing a sale document with them or any other documentation that they have where I have to turn around now and rebut it and do a 3-day cancellation. So that makes sense. That makes sense. So
however your spirit tells you, and that's where the spirit is going to come in at.
Correct.
Whatever your spirit says about the process to take, depending on where you are in your, it depends on where you are in your erudition, even as to which process you choose.
Islam.
The point being, we must be ourselves at all times, no matter what the process is. So all we're doing is saying we can do it this way. We can do it this way. We can do it this way. There are ways. There's a million ways for us to be ourselves. There's no way for us to be a fake. It just won't work. Think about how many different ways and documents and papers and processes that you can use to buy something. Credit cards, checks, cashier's checks, bank drafts, cash, partial cash and partial credit card, partial cash and down payment and then monthly payments and installment. Look, I mean, all of those ways, all we're saying is we got that already. That's all we're saying, is that we know the processes. And that no matter what, we're going to be ourselves on our own land. That's really what this is all about. And we should be anxious to see how many different ways can we be ourselves. Because see, sometimes, and I'll tell you, I was even here for about 5 seconds this past week. I was thinking, okay, ancestors, I'm tired. Y'all gonna have to do something. And here they came and just flooded me with information. was like, okay, good. I'm good now. We have to do what we have to do, and just take a break if you will, to take a, sit down and don't do anything for a while, for a few days, if you have to do that. But we have to be ourselves. And as you can see, people are coming from everywhere. They know about us everywhere. Everywhere. We're grateful for Vietnam being in the house, the Vietnam wars, the Vietnam consulate, the Vietnam government. That's the government there. So all is well. All is well. We knew this would happen. We knew this day would come. And this Congress is yes. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom about the process? Everything is stopping where they are concerned. We do have to, it's like a handoff, a trade-off, a handoff with the subjects. And that's what this process is about, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, all of the products that our ancestors put in place they're manifesting already. The older electric cars from the early 1900s that go faster than the ones we have today and require less energy and all of that's already coming to it's manifesting already. Islam Empress.
Islam. Annabelle Mahatsbade, Canaanland Territory. Good day, Congress. Grand Rising. I had a question about proof of funds. So with the proof of funds affidavit that we generate, who do we notify with an affidavit with that of that weight?
So if you're going to demonstrate a domicile or a conveyance, an automobile, when you send beforehand and let your documents precede you, you would send all of that the way wealthy people do. They say, I'm coming in on this day at this time. Here is the documentation.
Yes. Islam.
And what we do when we're doing those demonstrations, if we choose to do them, is we go beforehand and just kind of scout out the land and pull the VIN number and pull the make, model, and the and all of that stuff. We just take a photo of all of that stuff, and then we do our documentation first and say we're coming in on this day to get that.
Islam. Yes.
Islam. What happens in the case if that conveyance is sold by the time your documents is finalized?
Here's my suggestion. Send the documentation anyway, and then go and demonstrate. And if they say, oh, that one's sold, but we have this one right here, then just be ready to prepare the documentation for that. Let them show you the whatever it is and all of that. And then see, you're going to be doing, all you'll do then is just change the VIN numbers on your documentation. The VIN number, the make, and the model on your documentation. Everything else will stay the same, generally.
Thank you, Empress.
Islam. We're just proving that we're competent heirs and that we are 100% ready and already governing our vast estate. This was erudition for us. Islam Empress.
Islam. I just wanted to thank you for preparing us for this. I never feel like I'll ever know enough, but, you know, that's part of the learning process anyway. But you're amazing. All the things you've taught, and I listen to a lot of people, you know, around the internet, and they don't know. The people here are prepared. You know, it feels strange because we're going, you know, into, you know, new territory, but I feel prepared for this.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for all your heart, brain work, because I know you go to sleep with this stuff too, and everything you've done for us. I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you, and I love you for everything you've done for us. Yes, Mom, I yield.
Thank you so much, Empress Cynthia. And, you know, I love you too very much. I'm so encouraged that you're here. Thank you. We are one. Islam, Justice.
Need to ask you a question that's been bugging me from the past week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we do the lien, levy, and bond, and we do our paperwork, how do we determine the effectiveness of it, like when you put it on the public record and notify the subjects? How do we measure the effectiveness?
The effectiveness of any demonstration and any documentation is determined by how well you know that you are the law. You will look for outside signs if you haven't fully gotten the signs from within. But when you know from within that you're the law, you're the government, and that everything must submit to you, and that the system must submit to you, when you know that from within, then you know how your eyes will see the effectiveness of it. Everything around you will start to change based on what you did. Okay. But you won't see that if you don't know first on the inside that it has to obey, that the energies and frequencies have to obey your word.
Mm-hmm. The reason I pose that question is because, as you know, most of the time you will get the silent treatment. There's hardly any like acknowledgement when we do our paperwork and things like that. That's the reason I ask.
Well, this is spiritual first. It's spiritual first, Justice Willie. That means that this eye, the pineal eye, the spiritual eye, is looking first to see.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you keep looking with the spiritual eye first, then these eyes will line up and align with what your spiritual eye sees. These eyes do not align first. They align next, after this eye. And this eye is the knower. These eyes are the seer. These two eyes are the seers. This eye is the knower. And so when you know that, because all I had to do was look way far back, and no matter how far back I looked, I kept seeing us. And then I would look forward with my spiritual eye, and no matter how far forward I looked, all I saw was us doing all kinds of things. Once you see that, then everything will start to line up with the fact that you know that this is about you.
Islam Empress, pardon me, could you open for Empress Sasha, please? Thank you.
Islam, thank you, Justice Anthony. Yeah, your eye. Remember the song, Justice Willie? I know you've heard this song. Most of us have. Mine eyes have seen the coming
glory of the Lord.
Yes. that's something they saw before it happened. So they're not even talking about these two eyes. They're talking about this one that sees before these two see. It's like and there's no better example of that than a matriarch who just found out she is expecting an heir. The heir's not here, but everybody's preparing. Her body is preparing. Finances are being prepared. The inheritance and the estate is being prepared. A room is being set up. Things are being done. Everything is being, because the heir, you don't see the heir. She hasn't even started showing. But somebody said that an heir was on the way. Somebody said it. Now, do you know that whoever said that knows what they're talking about? And ultimately, it is the matriarch who has to agree and say yes. She has to know first. And sometimes her mother will know before she will know. But it's just like that. The estate, everything that has to do with us works that way. You'll start to see signs. You still don't see the baby, but you see signs. Maybe she's starting to grow a little bit, and her body is preparing for this great event. And you're starting to see the signs that her body's changing a little bit, but not much right now because we're only in the third month, the second or the third month. She has to prepare, and then by the time she prepares, there is a manifestation. And that's why whenever people talk about nations, they talk about birth. You won't see right when it's first stated. But whoever it is that's stating it, if they are of ancient bloodline and birthright, you can take that to the bank. It's going to happen, no matter what they're saying. And then you'll start to look around and see a few things changing, and you're like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Let me just keep going. Let me just keep watching and keep. When someone says that someone is going to have a baby, they're expecting a baby, no one has to say to them that next month, hey, you're going to have a baby. Are you getting ready? No one has to say that, because they still know, even though they haven't seen it and they've only gained 1 or 2 pounds, they still know the baby's coming.
Thank God.
It's like that. Your word is like that. You'll say something, and you'll see a little something change over here. It's called it. You say something, and then you watch. You say something, and then you watch. You say something, and you watch, but you don't stop moving. You don't stop preparing. That's what we've been doing, preparing for our wealth to manifest. And just because we didn't see 10 million in 2020 or 2021, we didn't see a million manifest or 10 million manifest the way it did recently, or 100 million manifest the way it did recently. We didn't see that then, but we knew it was coming. So the ancestor said, okay, learn the lean process, then announce the gold standard, put an instrument on the public record so that you and everyone else can see that, yes, we mean business. And don't make it for 100 million, make it for 666 trillion. Go big or go do some study and then come back again. So, and again, even after that, we put that on the public record, and what looked like fiat looked like it was still, these eyes were still kind of seeing fiat running around, but that didn't stop us. We can't stop because of that. This eye saw that we're the law, and we're the court, and we're the government, and no money comes from anywhere lest it come from us.
As you talk about money, I just need to say something quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen on any product part of the ingredients, and no matter how much that label I've read,
Mm-hmm.
the ingredients has never been gold, silver, or fiat. The
Mm-hmm.
ingredients has always been of a product. It has always been something coming from Mother Earth.
Yeah.
I say this to say that we as a people need to be probably learning, not even probably, we should be learning to produce things from Mother Earth, because it is not $1, $10, no, it's not a money that goes and dig the earth and make a product or make a car or make whatever. It is always the human effort and ingenuity to produce things out of the earth. So the money should be secondary, because that's just a medium to measure exchanges, and we just accept that these things has value. But it's really, what I'm saying is the things are always coming from Mother Earth. So we can, in other words, we can live without money if we learn to produce things from Mother Earth.
You know, nobility, the sovereign knows that. That we can go out there at any time and pull from the earth and nobody can stop us, and we'll eat forever. We know that. One thing this Congress knows also is that the biggest, the obstacle that appeared to be the biggest was the fiat piece. That's the piece that where all the quote unquote war and confusion was coming from. So we stated, you know, the ancestor said, okay, that piece. Choose the biggest giant and pull it down. Pull down that stronghold, and everything else will be what it should be. So we said, okay, let's do that. And this Congress did it already. We are pulling from the earth already, Justice Willie.
Right.
And only when anyone who participates in that, who goes outside on their own land and just starts pulling and saying, I'm just going to send this to someone just to see. I'm going to demonstrate sending this to them as a product from the earth. And send them a prepaid, it's already fully paid for invoice. It's already paid for. I just will to tribute this to you from the earth. Already done. It's a wrap then. Do you know how many strongholds come down in someone's mind and their consciousness when they do that one thing? Just because they know they can. There's nothing that was ever on a grocery store shelf that we cannot create from what we already have. All we have to do is walk to go get it or travel to go get it.
You notice how the world has being dependent on China, because China, the Chinese learn to produce things at a more efficient level, and that is what got them so wealthy, in quotes. So they have explored the option, the idea of how to make things and to make it efficiently. And it was not the dollar or any currency that does that. It was ingenuity, it was imagination, it was technology, etc., etc. So I think all I'm saying is that that's where we need to get back to as a people and stop and be independent on currency and exchange, you know. Yeah. But anyway, I yield on that.
Some of us are already there, nobility. Some of us, especially this Congress, some of us have already sending things out and producing and generating and originating and doing merchant things on the land. Many of us are already doing that. And we using our own money.
Right.
Islam Empress.
Islam nobility.
Pardon me again. Could you open again for Empress Sasha?
Yes, Islam.
Yeah, Islam.
And those of us that are not doing it, we can all those that are not doing the mercantile things all they have to do is look. They already know where the stuff is on the land because the ancestors have shown them already that all you got to do is go to all you have to do is go and pull off the pine tree and grind it up and make it into a fine powder. And we know that will do certain things where healing is concerned, or you got your pine tree teas, and the different pine trees at the different territories will give a different type of tea. So each one of us has something, and all the territories have pine trees, or trees of some kind. So none of us have an excuse to not be doing that, to not be, because see, what we're doing now is perfecting the system and creating the supply lines for all the stuff. We're doing that already, creating the supply lines. Every one of us is a supply line. Every one of us is a supply line. So all of those sentences where people say, what we need to do is this and this and this, we already doing it. How about you get busy?
No.
And do it with us? That's simple. That's simple. Get busy doing it with us. We're sending things out. We're supplying each other with all types of things. The saltwater minerals is medicinal. So, yeah, we're already doing it. So, fortunately for us, we don't have to say, we need to do this and we need to do that. We don't even have to say that no more. We need to get our own money system. We don't have to say that no more. We need to start shipping our own stuff to each other and healing our own selves. Done. Continuing to be done. And that's how you know when someone has to be brought up to speed on what they should be doing. Is they'll say, we need to do this and we need to do that. We're already doing all of that. Here's how you do it. And we just show them how to do it.
Islam Empress Light.
Islam Empress.
The sea salts that we had asked for, we haven't received them yet.
I sent it. It didn't get to you though. So I don't know I don't know what was going on with the address. It got there, but I kind of almost knew that you weren't going to get it from the place where it was received at.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have to convene on. If I have to send another one, I will.
Please.
Yes, we will, and just let us know where to send it. So, Empress Angel, if you will, we're going to adjourn, and if I could just have 5 minutes of your time, that would be great.
Sure.
Beautiful. I will make one other statement before we adjourn. I'm so honored to hear from Empress Esther Jackson Bay at Khalifa territory. She sent me a letter, and I just will to thank her. I will to thank her on this broadcast. I will to thank her for the letter, and we're going to get her what she requested. We don't normally do the things like what she requested, but we're going to make an exception because she was here before the fake state of Israel was a corporation. Can you believe that? She was here before all of that. She was here, okay? And I'm just grateful that she took the time to handwrite in red ink a letter and send it to us. So, oh wow, we're just so honored to have received that from her. We won't state where she is specifically, but we just appreciate her Islam. And with that being stated, we have Islam.
I have one question.
Yes.
Will you provide the document that you have on the screen underneath this video when you present it out or bring it out?
Which document?
I'm sorry?
Which document? You mean this process?
This process you have on the screen.
I'll just type it under there. Yeah, I'll type it under there.
Okay.
Word for word, I'll type it under there.
And the links to the different references that you would have to go to?
Yep, I'll put it all under there.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Nobility.
Islam.
Justice Consul and then Justice Mosey.
Islam, hi, Empress. Good to see you.
Great rising nobility at United Kingdom territory. We're so grateful that you're here.
On the lien levy and bond, there's two numbers on there. The 4107600 and the 2055923. Is that supposed to be on there, or is that going to be changed?
I'm not familiar with what those numbers are right now. It escapes me what those numbers are for. But let the spirit lead you on whether they should be there or not, and whatever your spirit says will be the right answer. Justice Mosey.
Islam, Memphis.
Grand Rising Nobility.
Grand Rising to all the Moors on the call. Just a quick report back from the round table. Everything's been going smooth. Justice Johnny is going to give a banking demonstration Thursday. I just wanted to let the Congress know. I said in the last report, I've notified the Congress that when he do set a date, that I will let the Congress know, so that therefore anyone on the Congress that wants to attend is more than welcome. And with that
Nobility, can you put the link and the information to the Congress, to the Thursday Congress on in the chat right now, if you could do that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Nobility, and the access code, so that anyone who wills to attend will have the proper information, and we'll go ahead and put it up on the screen as well.
Okay, let me...
Islam. We're so grateful, Justice Mosey, that you have taken that mantle and just risen with it.
I'm grateful to be able to have the opportunity to host a round table, and I'm more than thankful and grateful. So, it's a blessing to me as well. It's to me as well. Let me copy this link.
Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom from this amazing Congress?
Islam,
Empress.
I just want to make one more comment. As I look around, everybody is looking for a hero, someone else to get this done. And you have taught us that we're our own heroes, and you've shown us where to look, and how to be curious, and have tenacity. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I just have to say that again too.
I am feeling the love, Empress.
Thank you so much for what you've done for us, Islam.
I am feeling the love, Empress. I love it. Thank you so much. Islam, Justice Dumois.
I'm glad that Chief Justice Mosey Bennett came on and you mentioned about the round table, because I was on the last call for the first time Thursday, but
wow.
I didn't get on my laptop because I didn't have the host, the host appellation of what like yours is.
Mm-hmm.
What yours is just pops up like paying more Section 1.
Mm-hmm.
I need that.
That's the online identity for the channel identity.
Right.
I think he just put it in. It's Illinois consulate court. I think it is.
Yes, I see it now.
Yes,
thanks
that link will take right to the page.
Yes,
all right.
There it is, right there.
Thank you.
That's long.
What is it? Is it consulate AR court?
For some reason, it's supposed to be in Illinois Consular Court, but they spelled, instead of spelling counselor, they put it KONSULATAR court.
Okay. Well, there it is on the screen, Morris, for those who will to attend here, let me just put it up there, the Thursday roundtable.
7 p.m. Eastern.
At what time, Nobility?
7 p.m. Eastern.
7 post meridian Eastern.
Yep, since I've been having them. I've been having it on Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern. And a few weeks ago, we took a vote, and the nobles that was in the roundtable meeting that day, we agreed to also have one Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That way, it gives the nobles a chance. If they miss Thursdays, they can make Tuesdays, and if they miss Tuesdays, they can make Thursdays, and we kind of can go over things if they missed anything.
Okay, so we'll put Tuesday as well at 5 p.m. Islam, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We love it. Let's make sure we save that information as well.
Islam, Empress.
Yes. Empress. Nobility.
Before I forget, you asked me to remind you about touching on the master account agreement. So maybe next Congress or so, if you can remember, to just touch on it a little.
The master account is, in fact, I'll just do it really quickly right now. Let's do it. Have you read some of the Treasury manual? Do you have that?
No, I don't have that.
Okay. We did do a video. Here's the Treasury manual. I'll give you a link to it. It's actually a pretty interesting document. Let's see here. It's an interesting document. This is where we found it. About TSM. Treasury Financial Manual. Okay, so I'm going to give you this link. And you can and you can it was very informative. Particular chapters. The ancestors didn't lead us to read the whole thing. They just led us to specific chapters in there, and we just looked. We got some great information. We sent some affidavits based on the addresses that we saw in there, where we restated the addresses and spelled everything out and sent it, and it worked like a charm. And the application should be in there also for the master account, and it will tell you about what happens with the master account, how it works.
So this is the link right here.
Yes.
Okay. Gratitude, Empress.
Islam.
Thank you.
If there be nothing further at this time on this platform, we will adjourn. Islam, no, Justice Malik, hi.
Yeah.
Great rising.
Grand Rising. I don't see the link in the chat. I was just wondering if you put it in the chat before we go.
Just a moment. I thought I did or did. Empress Nabi, I think I sent it to Empress Nabi only. Wait a minute. Thank you, Justice Malik. Let's see. Justice Anthony, this is the link in the chat.
And my
Treasury Financial.
I can't even get into it now.
Oh, I was responding to you, Empress Nabi, what you said earlier. I said Islam.
Gratitude, Empress.
Yes, Islam.
Gratitude.
Justice Malik, there it is as well in the chat. It says Treasury Financial Experience about the TFM. That's the manual to the Treasury. So anything you need to know about Treasury direct accounts, master accounts, how they work, where to send things, it's there. And we just did the demonstration because that's what the ancestors led us to do, and it worked very well. And it also connected the Treasury direct account to the United Services Automobile Association account that we have, where we got the $10 million instrument. And yes, Islam nobility.
It hasn't popped up in the chat yet.
It hasn't?
No.
Does anyone else see that link in the chat?
Yes,
I see it.
It's
there. Okay, it's there. It's there. Yeah. Okay, our connection might have been a little slow, nobility. It must have been just a me and you thing, because everybody else could see it. And what I will say about that too is that when I created and wrote the $10 million check and deposited into the account, and the account picked up the check and showed that it's there as proof of funds, just know that the system did not fund me. My loan to the system funded the system. So that's why the $10 million went so well. That's why that instrument came up and went really well. So we have that as proof of funds. With that being stated, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. This Congress is amazing. Peace.
Peace and grand rising. Peace and grand
Thank
rising.
you for all the info, Empress.
Islam nobility.
Grand rising.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising. To the moors. To the moors. Grand rising.
Empress Angel, stay on for just a moment, please.
Islam, I'm here.
Okay, I will.
Ha, Justice Willie. No, Willie, get off. Get off.
Didn't you say Justice Angel Willie?
A mess.
You're cheeky. You're cheeky.